A rancher hired her to cook, but every morning she tried to seduce him. Jace Hunter had never expected to inherit anything, let alone a cabin at the edge of the Dustwind Plateau. He had grown up in the city, surrounded by noise, traffic, and people who never looked up at the stars. But when he received the old, creased letter with his grandfather's seal, something stirred inside him. The letter simply said, "Your family's cabin awaits you. Protect it, understand it, and you will find your place." That was it. No explanations, no instructions, only the promise of mystery. He arrived in the late afternoon, the sky painted in shades of orange and pink. The plateau stretched endlessly in every direction, a vast desert with shimmering sand that reflected the light in strange, almost metallic patterns. The wind carried a dry, electric scent, and every now and then he could see faint streaks of blue lightning curling across the horizon. It was beautiful and strange, and Jace felt a thrill of anticipation he hadn't felt in years. The cabin itself was older than he expected. Its wood was weathered, its edges worn, but it was sturdy. Oddly, it seemed alive. A faint hum came from its walls, soft enough that he almost questioned if he was imagining it. He pushed the creaking door open and stepped inside. Dust floated in the slanting rays of sunlight, and the cabin smelled of aged wood and oil. It was quiet, almost too quiet, as if it were holding its breath. "You can handle all 5 of us?" Jace spun around, heart racing. 5 women stood in the cabin, looking at him with a mixture of amusement and challenge. They were unlike anyone he had ever seen. Their clothing mixed old Western styles with sleek futuristic elements. One had a long brown coat with metal clasps that glinted in the sunlight. Another wore boots that seemed to hum faintly when she shifted her weight. Their eyes shone with confidence and their smiles were mischievous. I'm sorry?" Jace said, unsure what to say. The tallest one, a red-haired woman with freckles, leaned casually against the wall. "I asked if you can handle all 5 of us. Are you going to stand there staring, or are you going to answer?" He had no idea what handle meant in this context, but something in her tone made him feel like it was important. "I think so," he said, his voice uncertain. The women laughed, a sound that was light and musical, filling the cabin. "Good enough," the red-haired one said. "We're not here to fight, but if you're going to live here, you'll need to keep up. This cabin isn't just a place to sleep. It's something more." "Something more? What do you mean?" The woman stepped forward, and for the first time he noticed the faint glow under her boots, like tiny streams of light moving across the floor with her steps. "This place has secrets," she said. "Things left behind by people who came long before you and long before your grandfather. We've been waiting for someone like you to arrive, someone who can understand, protect, and learn." Before Jace could ask another question, the others introduced themselves. There was Mara, the tech expert who could make any machine work. Leora, who knew the desert and its strange creatures better than anyone. Selene, the pilot who could ride anything with wings or wheels. Nissa, who decoded alien symbols. And Faye, the calm strategist who seemed to know what everyone was thinking before they did. Each woman had a presence that was both commanding and friendly, and Jace felt a strange mix of intimidation and excitement. They led him through the cabin, showing him odd devices tucked in corners, holographic maps projected onto the walls, flickering slightly as if waking from a long sleep. One corner had what looked like an old hover wagon, dusty but intact. On a small table, a set of tools seemed to hum with energy, waiting to be used. "This cabin chooses its keepers," Mara said, noticing Jace's curiosity. "It's not just walls and furniture. It's alive in ways you don't understand yet. It will test you, guide you, and sometimes surprise you." Jace swallowed hard. He had never been tested like this in his life. He had worked office jobs, fixed small problems, and lived a quiet life, but none of it had prepared him for something like this. Yet, as he looked around, he felt a spark of excitement. For the first time, he had the sense that he belonged somewhere, even if he didn't fully understand why. The women spent the evening teaching him small tasks. Mara showed him how to activate a simple device that projected a holographic sun across the room. Leora taught him to read the patterns in the sand outside, how the energy lines of the plateau shifted throughout the day. Selene demonstrated how to check the hover wagon's engines, and Nissa gave him his first lesson in the strange symbols carved into the cabin walls. Faye watched, occasionally giving hints that helped him connect the dots. By the time the sun set, painting the plateau in deep purples and blues, Jace was exhausted but exhilarated. He realized that this cabin was a puzzle, a living puzzle, and that he was part of it now. As night fell, the women gathered outside, under the twin moons that hung low in the sky. The plateau glowed softly, almost as if it were breathing. Jace stepped out behind them, feeling the cool sand under his boots. The wind carried faint whispers, or maybe it was just his imagination. The women didn't speak at first. They simply looked at the horizon, their expressions a mix of pride and caution. Finally, the red-haired woman spoke. "You have the choice to leave, Jace. Nothing is forcing you to stay. But if you leave, the cabin will wait. It doesn't forget, but it does expect. It expects someone who can learn, someone who can grow, someone who can care."
Jace nodded slowly, feeling the weight of her words.
He didn't fully understand what staying meant, but he knew one thing. He wanted to be part of this, even if he didn't know why. The night was quiet, filled with stars and strange glimmers on the sand. The women talked softly among themselves, laughing at small jokes, teasing each other. Jace realized that for all their confidence and skill, they were human. They had fears, hopes, and dreams just like him, and he felt a strange comfort in that. Before he went to sleep in the cabin, Jace walked around one last time. He touched the walls, the old wood smooth under his fingers, and felt the hum of the cabin beneath his palm. Somewhere deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. The plateau, the cabin, and the women were all connected in ways he couldn't yet understand. But he was ready to try. He returned to the small bed in the corner, settling in as the holographic sun dimmed, leaving only the soft glow of the cabin lights. Outside, the plateau shimmered in the moonlight, and the wind whispered through the dunes. Jace closed his eyes, feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. He didn't know what challenges lay ahead, but for the first time in his life, he felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be. Somewhere in the night, a soft hum grew louder, almost like a heartbeat. Jace smiled, thinking about the question he had been asked earlier. "You can handle all 5 of us?" He didn't fully understand what it meant yet, but he felt confident in one thing. He could try. And sometimes trying was enough to start a great adventure. As sleep finally took him, the cabin seemed to settle around him. The lights dimmed, the devices went quiet, but the hum remained, steady and reassuring. Outside, the plateau waited, filled with secrets, mysteries, and wonders, and for the first time, Jace Hunter felt ready to face whatever the Dustwind Plateau had in store. The next morning, Jace woke to a strange sound. It wasn't the wind or the faint hum of the cabin. This was different, like a soft buzzing under the floorboards. He rubbed his eyes, still groggy, and stepped out of bed. The 5 women were already awake, moving around the cabin with a sense of purpose that made him feel both nervous and excited. "Morning, sleepyhead," Mara said, looking up from a device that projected a small floating globe of light. "Today, we start your real training." "Training?" Jace asked, blinking. "I thought yesterday was training." "That was the warm-up," Selene said, her voice calm and precise. "Today, you learn how to live on the plateau. Not just survive, but understand it. It will test you in ways you cannot imagine." Leora stepped forward, brushing sand from her boots. "The plateau is alive," she said. "The sand moves, the wind carries energy, and the lights you saw yesterday, they are not just pretty.
They are signals, patterns.
Messages. If you cannot read them, you will miss what's important." Jace felt a knot in his stomach. Patterns, messages, energy lines. He had never been good at puzzles. But he also felt a thrill. This was different from anything he had done before, and for some reason he trusted that the women would guide him. They started outside. The plateau stretched endlessly, glowing faintly under the morning sun. The 5 women spread out, each showing Jace a different skill. Leora pointed to a trail of shimmering sand. "See how it moves?" she asked. "The wind shifts it, but it also reacts to creatures, machines, even humans. Learn it, and you can predict what is coming." It felt ordinary at first, warm and fine between his fingers, but then he noticed subtle movements, tiny ripples that followed patterns. He tried to follow them, moving his hands across the sand, tracing invisible lines. Leora watched silently, nodding when he got it right. Next, Mara handed him a small gadget. It looked like a compass, but it projected tiny lights that danced in the air. "This reads the cabin's energy," Mara explained. "It tells you when the plateau is shifting, when something is activating, or when a signal is nearby. You need to feel it as much as read it." Jace held it awkwardly, trying to make sense of the lights. At first they seemed random, twirling and flickering without pattern, but Mara guided him, showing how each flicker corresponded to a movement outside, a change in the wind, or a shift in the ground beneath them. Slowly, he began to understand. The plateau was speaking, and the device helped him listen. "Good," Mara said. "You are learning faster than most." Selene took him to the hover wagon, dusted and polished from yesterday. She demonstrated how to start it, how to control its levitation, and how to read the small holographic display in front of the seat. "It's not just a ride," she said. "It's your connection to the plateau. You will need to know how to move quickly if something unexpected happens." Jace tried, stumbling a few times, his hand shaking as the hover wagon lifted off the sand. The women laughed, not cruelly, but in a way that made him feel like it was okay to fail, as long as he tried again. On his third attempt, he got the hang of it, hovering steadily as the wind whistled past. A sense of pride filled him. He was starting to belong here. Nissa approached next, leading him to a section of the cabin that had walls covered in alien symbols. "These were carved by people who lived here long before humans," she explained. "Some patterns are simple, some complex. They tell stories, give warnings, and sometimes hold instructions. You need to learn them." Jace frowned. The symbols were intricate, swirls and lines that seemed random at first. But Nissa patiently showed him patterns, teaching him to see repetitions, sequences, and the flow of energy in each design. Hours passed, and Jace's mind grew tired, yet something clicked. He began to see connections, the way the symbols mirrored the plateau outside, the energy lines, and even the movements of the wind. Finally, Faye gathered them all near the cabin's edge. "Time for a test," she said. Her tone was calm but serious. "Nothing dangerous, but it will show if you are ready to continue your training. You must work with all 5 of us. Alone you will fail." Working with all 5? He had barely kept up with one skill, let alone coordinating with all of them. Faye led them to a small ridge overlooking a part of the plateau that glowed brighter than usual. The women explained that a signal storm was forming, a natural phenomenon where the plateau's energy lines intertwined, creating pulses of light and vibration. If handled incorrectly, the signals could overwhelm devices or confuse travelers. Their task was to redirect and stabilize the energy using the cabin's portable shields, devices, and their combined skills. Mara, Leora, Selene, and Nissa each had a role, and Jace's job was to coordinate them. He felt panic rising. How could he possibly tell them what to do? "Trust yourself," Faye said softly. "You know enough to guide them. Remember what you learned." Taking a deep breath, Jace nodded. "Okay, let's try." The storm arrived quickly, a swirl of blue and gold light that danced across the plateau like living fire. Jace watched the lights flicker and pulse, feeling the vibrations through the sand and in the hum of the devices. He pointed to Mara. "Adjust the shields to match the right pulse pattern." Mara moved swiftly, calibrating the device. Leora read the wind and energy lines, calling out directions. Selene positioned the hover wagon to reflect light correctly, and Nissa adjusted the symbols on the portable panels, aligning them with the storm's rhythm. Jace shouted instructions, keeping track of every moving part. At first it felt impossible. The lights moved faster than he could follow, and his voice trembled. But slowly, the storm began to respond. Pulses stabilized, colors softened, and the chaos became a rhythm. Jace felt his heart race with excitement and relief. The women followed his lead, trusting his guidance, and together they brought the storm under control. When the last pulse faded, the plateau returned to its gentle glow, as if nothing had happened. The women turned to Jace, smiling. "You did it," Faye said simply. "We did it," Jace corrected, feeling both proud and humbled. "Yes," Mara said. "But you did more than that. You coordinated all of us." "You handled all 5 of us." Jace laughed nervously, remembering the words from the first day. "I guess I did," he admitted. The women clapped and teased him lightly, but there was genuine respect in their eyes. For the first time, Jace felt that he belonged. He wasn't just a visitor, not just an inheritor of a cabin. He was part of something larger, a team that protected and understood the plateau. That evening, they returned to the cabin, tired but elated. Jace helped Mara recharge the devices, and Leora showed him how to prepare food using energy pulses in the sand. Selene cleaned the hover wagon, Nissa traced symbols on the cabin walls, and Faye simply watched, nodding at Jace when he succeeded. As the twin moons rose over the plateau, casting long shadows across the sand, Jace felt a calm satisfaction. He had survived his first real challenge and, more importantly, had begun to understand the cabin, the plateau, and the women. He stepped outside for a moment, breathing the cool night air. The plateau stretched endlessly, quiet now, the storm a memory. Somewhere in the distance, faint lights flickered, like the eyes of ancient watchers. Jace smiled. He knew there would be more challenges, more storms, and more lessons, but he felt ready. For the first time, he truly believed he could handle all 5 of them. Not because he was stronger or smarter, but because he had learned to listen, observe, and trust. The plateau had its secrets, the cabin had its mysteries, and the women had their skills. Together, they were a team, and together, they would face whatever came next. As he returned to the cabin, the hum of the devices seemed softer now, reassuring. He climbed into bed, exhaustion pulling at his limbs, but his mind buzzed with excitement. Tomorrow would bring new lessons, new discoveries, and perhaps new surprises. And Jace Hunter, for the first time in his life, was ready to face them. The Dustwind Plateau stretched beyond the horizon, mysterious and alive, waiting for the morning. And Jace knew that whatever it threw at him, he would not face it alone. The morning sun rose over the Dustwind Plateau, painting the sands in shades of gold and silver. Jace woke to a calm that felt almost unreal after yesterday's storm of light and energy. The plateau stretched endlessly, shimmering under the twin moons still visible in the fading dawn. Today felt different. There was a tension in the air, a sense that something was waiting for him and the women. "Good morning, Jace," Mara said, her voice soft but serious. She was already tinkering with a device that floated beside her, projecting tiny pulses of light into the air. "Today we explore deeper. There is something beneath the cabin, and it is time you see it." "Beneath the cabin?" Jace asked, curiosity mixing with nervousness. The thought of secret rooms and hidden passages made his pulse quicken. "Yes," Leora said, joining them. "It is part of your inheritance. The cabin is more than a place to live, it is a key, and the plateau has been waiting for someone to use that key correctly." The 5 women led Jace to a section of the cabin he had not yet noticed. Behind an old wooden panel, Mara pressed a small sequence of buttons embedded in the wall. A soft hum filled the room, and a hidden staircase slid open, revealing a tunnel descending into darkness. Jace felt a thrill run through him. "Ready?" Celine asked, her eyes sparkling. "As ready as I'll ever be," Jace replied, stepping forward. The tunnel was cool and narrow, the walls lined with smooth stone that glimmered faintly as if embedded with tiny crystals. Faye led the way, her calm presence reassuring. "The cabin was built over an ancient vault," she explained. "It contains knowledge, tools, and secrets left by those who came here before. But it is not just about finding it. You must understand it. The plateau tests those who enter." Jace nodded, feeling both excitement and awe. They reached the bottom of the tunnel, and the women gestured him forward. Ahead was a large chamber, circular and vast, with walls covered in symbols that pulsed with soft golden light. In the center floated a device resembling a globe, suspended by invisible energy lines, spinning slowly. Nissa stepped closer, examining the symbols. "This is an archive," she said. "It contains histories, instructions, and records. It responds to those who interact with it. You must be careful. It is not dangerous, but it will challenge you." Jace felt a mix of fear and curiosity. He stepped closer, reaching toward the globe. The moment his hand touched it, light spread across the chamber, illuminating the symbols on the walls. A soft voice, mechanical but calm, spoke. "Welcome, Keeper. Verify your intent." Jace froze. "Intent?" he asked aloud. Faye nodded. "It wants to know why you are here. You must answer honestly. Think carefully. I am here to understand the plateau, the cabin, and to protect what is important," Jace said, his voice steady. "I want to learn and help, not take or destroy." The symbols shifted, forming patterns he had never seen before. Suddenly, panels on the walls opened, revealing objects, tools, and small devices. They floated toward him, each one vibrating with energy. "This is incredible," Mara whispered, moving to examine one of the tools. "The cabin is giving you access." Jace reached for a small device that looked like a sphere. As his fingers touched it, a vision appeared in his mind. A scene of the plateau centuries ago, humans and strange machines working together, creating paths, settlements, and devices. The vision shifted, showing him signals in the sand, energy lines, and patterns that connected everything. "It's showing me," Jace murmured. "It's showing me how everything is connected." Leora nodded. "Exactly. You are beginning to understand. The plateau is alive, and it communicates through patterns and energy. This chamber helps you see it." Hours passed as the women guided him through the chamber. Each tool and symbol revealed a piece of the plateau's history and secrets. Jace realized the vault was more than a storage place. It was a teacher. And the more he learned, the more he felt the connection to the land, the cabin, and the women guiding him. Then, something unexpected happened. A section of the chamber's floor shifted, revealing a passage leading even deeper. Jace hesitated. "Should we go further?" Faye considered him carefully. The next level is not a test of skill, but of understanding. It will require teamwork, insight, and trust. Are you ready? Jace glanced at the 5 women. Each of them had guided him, challenged him, and encouraged him. He felt a sense of calm determination. Yes, he said. The deeper passage was narrower, darker, and lined with intricate symbols that glowed faintly. The women moved with confidence, but even they paused occasionally to observe the patterns. Jace realized that this chamber was alive in a different way. It responded to thought, action, and cooperation. At the center of the next room was a device larger than the first, its surface smooth and glowing with a soft white light. As Jace approached, the 5 women positioned themselves around him. Each touched a part of the device simultaneously, their hands aligning with his. The globe pulsed and a wave of light expanded outward, projecting holographic images across the chamber. Jace gasped. He could see the plateau from above, paths glowing with energy, signals moving like rivers, and strange machines hidden in the dunes. The women guided him, showing how each path and machine connected, explaining how energy flowed and where potential challenges could arise. "This is more than maps," Nissa said. "It's a living system. It responds to balance, harmony, and cooperation. Alone, you cannot control it. Together, you can guide it." Jace realized the truth in her words. Yesterday, he had begun to coordinate with the women during the storm. Today, he saw why. It was not about control. It was about understanding, listening, and working together. The plateau, the cabin, and the vault demanded cooperation. As they explored, Jace noticed small surprises hidden in the chamber, tiny lights that reacted to thought, objects that seemed ordinary until touched, then revealed new information. The women encouraged him to experiment, to think creatively, and to trust his instincts. Suddenly, the device emitted a bright pulse, and the chamber shifted. A holographic map projected an area of the plateau marked with strange, glowing patterns. "The plateau is giving you a challenge," Faye said. "It wants to see if you can interpret this correctly." Jace examined the patterns. They were complex, but familiar in a way he couldn't explain. He pointed to a section. "If we align the devices along these energy lines, the signal should stabilize," he said. Mara, Leora, Selene, and Nissa followed his lead. Each moved in sync with him, placing tools and devices according to his instructions. Slowly, the glowing patterns on the map began to straighten, pulses slowing and flowing smoothly across the plateau. "It's working!" Mara exclaimed. Jace felt a surge of pride. He was not perfect, but he had learned to coordinate, guide, and trust. The plateau responded. The chamber hummed, lights softening into a calm glow. Faye smiled. "You did more than handle the tools, Jace. You handled all 5 of us. You coordinated, listened, and guided. That is what the cabin asks for. That is what the plateau asks for." For the first time, Jace felt a true sense of accomplishment. He was no longer just a visitor or a beginner. He was a part of the plateau, the cabin, and this team. He had earned a place among them, not because of strength, but because of understanding, patience, and cooperation. As they exited the vault, the plateau stretched before them, calm and alive. The twin moons reflected on the sand, and a gentle breeze carried the faint hum of energy lines moving beneath the surface. Jace looked at the women, seeing not just teachers, but companions, friends, and allies. The red-haired woman leaned close and whispered, "You are ready for what comes next, Jace. But remember, this is only the beginning. The plateau will continue to test you in ways you cannot imagine. Are you ready?" Jace nodded. "Yes, I think I am ready." That night, as the cabin glowed softly under the moonlight, Jace reflected on everything he had learned. The vault, the plateau, and the women had all challenged him, but he had grown. He understood the importance of trust, coordination, and patience. He had begun to see the world in a new way, not as separate pieces, but as connected, alive, and responsive. The hum of the cabin was comforting now, a gentle reminder that he was not alone. Tomorrow, the plateau would bring new challenges, but he felt prepared. With the 5 women by his side, he could face whatever came next. Together, they were stronger, smarter, and ready to explore the mysteries that awaited. And as he drifted to sleep, Jace knew one thing for certain. The Dustwind Plateau held more secrets than he could imagine, but for the first time in his life he was ready to uncover them. The morning sun rose over the Dustwind Plateau, painting the desert in gold and soft orange. Jace Hunter woke with a quiet excitement. The cabin felt alive, humming faintly as if greeting him. Yesterday had changed him. He had explored the hidden vault beneath the cabin, learned to coordinate with the 5 women, and felt the first real connection to the plateau. Today, he sensed that something important was waiting. The 5 women were already awake. Mara was adjusting a small device on the cabin wall, her fingers moving with precision. Leora was outside reading the patterns in the sand, tracing the faint glow of energy lines. Celine polished the hover wagon, making it ready for travel. Nissa examined a set of symbols projected in the air, and Faye stood silently, watching Jace with a calm, reassuring gaze. "Good morning," Faye said. "Today you will apply everything you've learned. The plateau has a task for you. Not dangerous, but it will test your understanding, coordination, and insight." Jace took a deep breath. "I'm ready," he said. He felt a confidence he had never felt before. The plateau had taught him patience, observation, and teamwork. He trusted the women, and now he trusted himself. Leora led them to a part of the plateau he had never seen. The sand shimmered differently here, glowing faintly with blue and green light. Strange crystal formations rose from the ground, reflecting the twin moon's glow even in daylight. "This area is ancient," Leora said. "It holds the history of those who first lived here. The plateau wants you to understand its past to guide its future." Mara activated a device that projected a holographic map above the crystals. Pulsing lights traced paths across the plateau, showing energy lines, hidden valleys, and places where the land shifted unpredictably. Jace studied the map carefully. He recognized patterns from the vault, the way the plateau moved and responded. He realized that all of his lessons were leading to this moment. Faye spoke again. "Your task is to stabilize this area. The energy lines are shifting too fast. If left alone, the plateau will lose balance. You must work together and use your knowledge to guide it."
Jace felt a flutter of nervousness.
It was one thing to coordinate with the women inside the cabin or in a single storm. This was larger, more complex. But he looked at their faces and saw trust. They believed he could lead them. "Okay," he said. "We'll do it together. Mara, start with the energy shields to redirect the flow. Leora, read the crystals and tell us where the lines are strongest. Celine, position the hover wagon to reflect energy and create balance. Nissa, watch the symbols for changes, and Faye, help me coordinate everyone." The women nodded, moving with precision and confidence. Jace felt a surge of excitement. For the first time, he understood what it meant to lead, not by commanding, but by guiding, observing, and trusting others. The energy lines pulsed faster, glowing brighter as the plateau responded. Jace's heart raced, but he focused. He watched the patterns, adjusted the devices, and gave directions. Mara shifted a shield, redirecting a pulse. Leora moved to a crystal, tracing the energy lines with her hands. Celine adjusted the hover wagon's position, letting light bounce off the metal surface. Nissa called out symbols that had shifted, helping him predict the next movement. Step by step, the chaos became order. The glowing lines slowed, forming smooth patterns across the plateau. Jace felt a thrill of satisfaction. The plateau had tested him, and he had risen to the challenge. "Look at that," Mara said, her eyes wide with amazement. "It's perfect." Jace smiled, feeling proud but also humble. "We did it," he said. "All of us together." Faye stepped closer, her calm gaze meeting his. "Exactly. You see now why the cabin asked if you could handle all 5 of us. It was never about control. It was about understanding, trust, and harmony." The red-haired woman who had first challenged him smiled warmly. "You've grown. You're not just learning. We're all learning together." The plateau responds to that balance. For a while they stood in silence, watching the glowing patterns spread across the sands. Jace felt a deep sense of connection. The plateau, the cabin, and the women were no longer separate. They were part of a larger whole, a living system of understanding and cooperation. As the day went on, the women taught Jace more subtle skills. He learned to anticipate changes in the energy lines, to read small movements in the crystals, and to feel the pulse of the plateau beneath his feet. They experimented with devices, adjusted symbols, and explored the area, discovering hidden nooks and small glowing springs of energy. Jace realized that the plateau was alive in ways he could never have imagined. That evening, they returned to the cabin, tired but exhilarated. Jace helped Mara recharge the devices, while Leora prepared a meal using energy pulses from the sand. Selene cleaned the hover wagon and shared small stories from her travels. Nissa traced symbols on the cabin walls, adding subtle corrections, and Faye watched, occasionally offering guidance or encouragement. After dinner, they gathered outside under the twin moons. The plateau stretched endlessly, calm and glowing. Jace felt a sense of peace he had never known. The challenges of the day had been difficult, but he had learned, grown, and proven to himself that he belonged here. The red-haired woman stepped close. "Jace," she said, her voice soft but firm. "You've done more than survive. You've begun to understand. You've handled all 5 of us, and you've learned to guide the plateau. That is rare." Jace felt a warmth in his chest. "I couldn't have done it alone," he said. "I needed all of you." "And we needed you," Faye added. "The plateau works because we work together. You are part of this now, not just an inheritor of a cabin, but a keeper, a guide, and a partner." Jace looked around at the 5 women, seeing their strength, intelligence, and kindness. He realized that they had challenged him, taught him, and trusted him in ways that no one ever had. He felt a sense of belonging, a connection that went beyond words. The night was quiet, filled with the hum of the cabin and the soft glow of the plateau. Jace walked to the edge of the ridge, looking out at the sands and the shimmering lines of energy. Somewhere in the distance, faint lights flickered, like the eyes of ancient watchers. He smiled, knowing that this was only the beginning. The plateau held secrets still undiscovered, challenges still unseen, and mysteries waiting to be understood. But Jace felt ready. With the 5 women by his side, he knew they could face anything together. As he returned to the cabin, he felt a sense of completeness. The journey had been long, full of surprises and lessons, but it had led him here. The cabin was no longer just a building. It was a place of learning, connection, and growth. The plateau was no longer just a desert. It was alive, responsive, and waiting for him to continue exploring. The women gathered around, smiling and teasing lightly, but there was a warmth in their eyes. Jace knew that this bond would carry them through whatever came next. They laughed together, shared stories, and planned for the next day's discoveries. Finally, Jace climbed into bed, exhausted but fulfilled. The hum of the cabin was steady, a comforting reminder that he was not alone. The plateau outside shimmered under the twin moons, calm and beautiful. Jace closed his eyes, thinking about everything he had learned, everything he had accomplished, and everything that still awaited him. For the first time in his life, he felt truly at home. The cabin, the plateau, and the 5 women had become his world, and he knew, deep down, that no matter what challenges arose, he could face them. Together, they could handle anything. And as sleep finally claimed him, the Dustwind Plateau stretched beyond the horizon, mysterious and alive, ready to share its secrets with those who listened, learned, and trusted. Jace Hunter, keeper of the plateau, was ready for whatever adventure lay ahead.